Hey guys, what's up? This is Meathead Mikkel from meatheadgaming.com, and today I'm going to be making a video about a permafrost wizard or permafreeze wizard, whichever you prefer. And this centers around finding two items. So the first one being Azurewrath, and the second one being Frostburns. And these two items in combination with one of several sources is going to, depending on which spells you use, it's going to let you permafreeze mobs, and I'm going to go through and show you guys what that looks like. So Azurewrath has up to a 25% chance to freeze on hit, and it also adds, increases your cold damage. And this is pretty much going to be, for cold wizards, this is going to be best in slot in ROS, obviously with a socket. Frostburns are also going to be best in slot for freeze wizards and other classes that do freeze or that want to kind of do some kind of freezing. Again, it does cold damage and it can roll crit chance as well, but mainly it's the chill effects that have a chance to freeze instead of slow. And when you combine these two along with some other skills that have a chill but also like a freeze chance and maybe even stack some other chance to freeze items, then you can do some pretty crazy things, and we're gonna look at that today. So before you guys wonder why on Torment 6 I'm not taking any damage and I have 3 million toughness, I'm just using some gear for testing purposes that's very high toughness. I found a storm shield with damage reduction from elites, 30% melee reduction. We got a string of ears with 30% melee reduction, and have an eye of Etlic with 30% ranged reduction. And then I also have, decent life per second, life per hit. And I'm also using some passives like Blur and Prismatic Armor for some of this, so that I don't actually take very much damage. That's beside the point. What I want to do is I want to show you guys proc coefficients and kind of explain why this 25% chance works really well with certain spells and not so well with others. So in the video description below, I'm going to link a spreadsheet that has proc coefficients. Now, I know a lot of you probably don't care about spreadsheets or anything like that, and if you don't want to look at that stuff, that's fine. You don't have to. You can just play the game and enjoy it. But if you don't at least have a basic understanding of what a proc coefficient is, you're going to start using spells like Blizzard with this item, and you're going to be very confused as to why it doesn't freeze anything. And you're going to think that your Azurewrath and your Frostburns are broken, and you're probably going to go on forums and cry about it because you don't actually understand how these work. So, certain skills like Blizzard, and I have a spreadsheet pulled up on my other screen, actually have very low proc coefficients. So Blizzard is at, for pretty much all the runes, is about 6% proc coefficient. So 6% of the time when you cast Blizzard, for every tick, it's going to have a 6% chance for a 25% chance to freeze, which 25% of 6% is 1.5%. So every tick, Blizzard is only going to have a 1.5% chance to freeze. And that's how proc coefficients work. It's a chance for a chance to do something. Now, some other spells, like Sleet Storm, have a very high proc coefficient. Or not Sleet Storm, but Ray of Frost. So Ray of Frost actually has a 55% chance for all the runes except for Sleet Storm to proc effects. So this would actually proc like 12.5% of the time with Ray of Frost, and Sleet Storm has a 33% roughly proc coefficient. So, and then there's also something really interesting with Hydra, which I'm going to show you guys. So first things first, an Arcane Orb, by the way, for Frozen Orb has a 13% proc coefficient. So let's jump in and I'll show you guys kind of how this works. So if we just use Blizzard, and it doesn't matter what ring you use, I'm not going to use, I'm using Snowbound. I'm not going to show you guys what it looks like with Frozen Solid because you could use this one, but this 40% chance to freeze doesn't actually have anything to do with Frostburns or Azurewrath, so you can use it for an additional chance. You can stack like that, but it's not going to actually, like, the items aren't going to affect it at all. Let's just cast Blizzard a few times and see if it ever freezes this guy. And it should, but, you know, it's, see, there's one freeze right there. So very, very low proc coefficient on Blizzard. I mean, it's almost non-existent. So it's not going to work very well with this at all. You know, there's the freeze right there. Now, Arcane Orb has a much higher proc coefficient. You know, it's at, what I said was 13% instead of like 1. So it's going to work a lot better. And it actually works on groups a lot better. So there's one freeze. And I'll show you guys, it works on a small pack a lot better than it does on individual mobs. So let's find us a pack real quick. Let's get these guys together. So again, Blizzard, you know, on 3 mobs, it's not going to do too well. Doesn't do anything. Frozen Orb is going to proc. So there's a freeze. I'm going to let this gain some more AP regen, and I'll show you guys at the end that, you know, in a big group, Frozen Orb actually works with this moderately okay, but not very much freezing, right? So far this video is pretty boring, right? Well, let's move on to a more fun skill. So we're going to actually go to Magic Missile, Glacial Spike. Now Glacial Spike by default has a chance to freeze, or not a chance to freeze, it's a guaranteed freeze, you know, every 5 seconds. But Glacial Spike also has a 100% proc coefficient. So that means the Glacial Spike, quarter of the time, you know, 24.8, we'll say 25% of the time, will freeze. So, you know, if you are going to be using a signature spell, Glacial Spike, as you can see, will keep them permanently frozen because it's such a high proc coefficient. Look at that. This guy's not going anywhere. This is permafreeze right here. Okay, absolutely not going anywhere. And it does have a small radius, so actually it'll work on, you know, if they're close to each other, it'll keep multiple mobs from getting close. So you can see that this actually works out really well. It's going to take forever for these guys to get anywhere near me. And it is going to permanently freeze them. So that's Glacial Spike, but, you know, we can do a lot more than that. Let's switch to Ray of Frost, and we'll say we'll use Cold-Blooded. Ray of Frost is actually very interesting because there's a legendary item. It's an offhand source. It's called the Light of Grace, which allows Ray of Frost to pierce, which basically turns into a Disintegrate Wave. And if you have Azurewrath and Frostburns and Ray of Frost and Light of Grace, then you're going to be able to basically have a permafreeze Disintegrate Wave because of the 55% proc coefficient on Ray of Frost. So let's see what it looks like with just reduced arcane power and how often it freezes. Pretty often, right? That's permafreeze as well on Ray of Frost. So look at that. Not going anywhere. It's pretty cool, right? And here in a little bit, I'm going to combo some skills together and show you exactly how powerful this is, but I want to roll through some of the individual skills first. Now, I'm not going to go through all the runes. I'm just going to go through 2 more. Numb has a 10% chance to freeze. So this is actually going to work even better because on top of the, you know, chance to freeze on hit and the chill effects freezing, you're also going to have just a built-in 10% chance with the item itself, or with the skill itself. So let's look at this one. Not going anywhere at all. Let's go ahead and get these guys. Look at that. Permafreeze. Permafreeze, not going anywhere. And, you know, you guys may be wondering, well, how well does this work on elites and bosses? And I will be making another video, you know, where I'm going to maybe take on Diablo or something and show you guys how well it works there. Depending on, you know, that depends on skill and gear and that sort of thing. This is just showing you guys the potential of certain skills with these 2 items and how well it could work. So this is Permafreeze right here. But not many people use Ray of Frost, at least not with these other runes, until, again, you get Light of Grace. Sleet Storm, though, is fairly popular. Now, Sleet Storm has a 33% proc coefficient. So let's round up a few mobs and see what Sleet Storm looks like, and how many times it's going to freeze them. That's pretty decent. That's a pretty decent rate of freezing. You know, it's not permafreeze, but again, we're only using one skill right now. We can make this a lot better, and I'll show you guys how. So that's Sleet Storm. If you're going to be going for a Sleet Storm build, and this actually works out really well with it, then you're going to want some other sources of freeze. And that's where Ice Armor comes in. So Ice Armor, just the base rune, or base effect, has a chance to chill or freeze. And you know, the cool thing with Frostburns is, without any of these other runes, you're going to get more freezing and less chilling, because the chill effects have a chance to be turned into freeze effects. So Ice Armor by itself is going to work fairly well. This is without any runes, so let's check and see what that looks like. And this is nothing special, right? This is fairly expected. You know, that's not a great rate of freeze, but it's okay. Now, this is where it gets fun. So, Chilling Aura, I'm going to go through 3 of these. Chilling Aura doesn't really work that well, because it does slow, but it's a small radius. And I'm actually not sure if it procs at all. I think it just slows. So it doesn't actually like really count as a freeze effect. So you're gonna be limited to 2 other ones. Either Frozen Storm, which works, and it's a good radius, but there's actually an even better rune. So this will freeze. So if I run around these guys, it will freeze them. So there you go. There's some freezing right there. Again, not the best proc rate, but it's not bad. And if I just stand here and they're hitting me, now I'm getting a lot more freezing. Now a lot more of them are being frozen. But this isn't even as good as it gets. It can get a lot better than this. So Frozen Storm would be an option if you have like a certain amount of damage where the mobs don't ever even hit you. You just kind of want it to be frozen on this outer radius. But Ice Reflect, which has a 40% chance to proc a Frost Nova, is going to work even better. And just this piece of armor alone is going to give you almost permafreeze. So let's see what this looks like. So I'm not doing anything here. I'm just standing here, and you can see that they're getting frozen pretty often, right? Pretty cool. Now let's combine that with, well, actually we're not going to combine anything yet, but this is kind of the best choice that I found. And even like for familiar, you can use Icicle if you want. I think that's a little bit overkill. You can stack as much as you want if you want to min-max. I don't think it's necessary. But another really interesting skill is Hydra, the Frost Hydra. Now, Hydra by itself has a 0% proc coefficient, and this is where it gets really interesting, because like if I just cast like Arcane Hydra, it's never going to freeze them. It's going to do damage, but my 25% chance to freeze isn't going to proc. Like it's just going to keep damaging them. And that freeze was actually for me. But the really interesting thing is on Frost Hydra, the chill effect from Frostburns bypasses that 0% proc coefficient, and I think it's actually like 100% proc. So literally, like the chill effect from the Hydra, the Frost Hydra, has a 41% of the time it's going to freeze. I'll show you guys what that looks like. So look at that. That's a lot of freezing, guys. That's a lot of freezing, and I'm not sure what the tick rate is. I don't know if it hits multiple times, but that's a very high rate of freezing. So let's round up a few guys, and I'll show you what Frost Hydra does just by itself with these items. Look at that. That's a pretty good rate of freezing. And this is just Frost Hydra. So it'll definitely help you get permafreeze. Definitely makes Hydra a lot more usable. Right now it doesn't really do a lot of damage by itself, but this makes it very useful once you find these items. So this is going to be the first of, maybe 2 or 3 videos where I'm actually going to apply this, kind of build into a more practical scenario. So now that we know about Frost Hydra, and I don't know if that's a bug feature, whatever, it's not really that overpowered because the Frost Hydra doesn't really do that much damage, but it's definitely an interesting mechanic because it does essentially, if you have Frostburns, it gives Frost Hydra a very, very high proc coefficient, chance to freeze. So I want to look at one more skill. I'll just go ahead and kill these guys real quick. And you're going to have, whatever build you go with, you're probably going to have a free skill here. And mirror images, I know you guys are probably thinking about this already just watching the video. I tried this out. Mirror images actually really suck for this because they don't cast Ray of Frost for whatever reason. Like if I have Ray of Frost, and it doesn't matter, I don't even need Sleet Storm, I can just use whatever. And then if I do mirror images, they're not going to cast Hydra or Ray of Frost. They're not going to cast, like, I don't know why. They just don't. Maybe it's something that Blizzard decided not to do. But if I cast them, they're just going to sit here and they're just going to run around and do nothing. So mirror images are actually a bad skill choice here. I don't know if that's bugged or if Blizzard specifically didn't want them to cast certain skills because of certain combinations. So I'm going to use Teleport, but the one skill that I wanted to show you guys is Frost Nova. So here you could use any of the runes really. Cold Snap is pretty good if you want to like guarantee 100% that you're going to be freezing everything, especially if you have cooldown reduction. But I want to show you guys Frozen Mist because it doesn't freeze, but it does do damage. It adds about 115% damage per second if you do that math. So if you're doing Sleet Storm, and it doesn't interrupt Sleet Storm, so you can actually Sleet Storm, or hold on, you can actually Sleet Storm and cast it without interruption, because the problem with using like Blizzard or Meteor with Sleet Storm is like if I cast Hydra, it interrupts my Sleet Storm. So every single time I'm going to have to start this again to build up the radius. You don't want to do that. But Frost Nova doesn't do that. It doesn't interrupt anything. So you can kind of combo these two skills and get some nice damage going in this little radius. So I'm going to show you guys the proc rate on this. And according to the spreadsheet, hold on a second, it's 27%. So it's decent. Not quite as good as Ray of Frost, but it's not bad. So let's see how often they get frozen. So so you see they are getting frozen a little bit. So not bad, not bad. And you can combo it like this, and get pretty decent freeze effects. And I'm going to show you guys on a big group, what this actually looks like and how powerful this actually is. So that pretty much covers all the frost skills, I believe. Yeah, I mean there's really nothing else that's. Oh yeah, Energy Twister. Energy Twister, Mistal Breeze. It does work. I just don't like the skill. It's 1,000 weapon damage over 6 seconds, but it's just you can Sleet Storm and actually do better, but it will freeze. I mean, if you have just a crazy amount of mobs, let's say your entire screen is filled up, then yeah, Mistal Breeze will work with it too, fairly well. And the proc coefficient on it is 28%, so just a little bit below Sleet Storm. But what I've been using is Sleet Storm, Frost Hydra, and here, I'm just doing wormhole teleport. I'm not going to use the. Well, actually, you know what? For the purposes of this demonstration, I probably will go ahead and use Frozen Mist. I prefer to have an escape skill with Illusionist, so I can actually just portal out, like if I run into elites or whatever. So we are using Ice Reflect, Sleet Storm, Frost Hydra, and I'm going to use Frozen Mist. So to open up, I'm basically going to cast Frost Hydra, Sleet Storm, and Frost Nova, and this should give me pretty much permafreeze. So as you can see, you know, they're not doing hardly anything. And obviously for the purposes of this demo, you know, my DPS is very low. I'm not trying to do any damage here really. I'm just kind of showing you guys how often this is going to freeze, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and find a nice little pack, nice juicy pack, and see how often they get frozen. Let's round up some mobs here. Yeah, this will be good. Oh yeah, this will be real nice. So this is just Frost Hydra by itself, and let me show you guys what the Ice Reflect looks like. So if I'm not even doing any damage, if I'm just sitting here, this is pretty good freeze rate. And this is without Hydra. Now let's add Hydra to it. Let's do Ice Reflect and Hydra. Okay, now let's do Ice Reflect, Hydra, and Frozen Mist. So that already works pretty well. Now, we're going to combo everything together, and we're going to do Ice Armor, Frost Hydra, Sleet Storm, and Frozen Mist. We're going to do Frozen Mist, and we're going to Sleet Storm. This is kind of everything, and you can see that this procs very often. I mean, this isn't 100% freeze, but you can get there. You can effectively get to 100% freeze rate if you stack some more items. Like I know, like belts can have freeze chance on, or chance to freeze on hit, and this can have chance to freeze on hit. So if you stack some of those items, you'll be able to permafreeze basically. So let's get a real big pack together. Let's see if I can round up something juicy for you guys. And and then I'll show you guys how it looks like with Frozen Wood in a big pack. Just so you guys can kind of see that it does still work fairly well with Frozen Orb, but only if you have like a large amount of monsters. So Frozen Mist, and there you go, guys. There you go, guys. Permafreeze. Frost Novas everywhere. Just nothing's really moving a whole lot. And you could actually use Frost Nova, like Cold Snap, and actually freeze them too. And again, I wouldn't even be using Frozen Mist. I would be using probably Teleport as an escape skill, but you can kind of see how often this freezes. So there you go. This is the permafreeze build, and it has a lot of potential. It's going to work extremely well. And I'm going to test it on bosses and things like that. So the last thing I want to show you, because this isn't really as practical at the current state of the game, because Frozen Orb is just such a good skill. So I'm going to show you what it looks like with a big group with Frozen Orb. So let's round up a nice little pack together. And we'll probably do, we'll just do, alright, so for this one we'll just do just Frozen Orb, see how often it freezes. So you can see that it does freeze a nice chunk of them. Let's let this regen. And then we'll continue. So we got a decent number of mobs here. I mean, it's not, some massive prep group, but this is a reasonable pack size. And Frozen Orb is going to freeze some of them. It's nothing insane, but it's good. It's good. And if we combo it with Frost Hydra, kind of at the front, so let's see if we can round up some more, because some of these are low on health. Yeah, let's get some of these guys. If we combo it with Frost Hydra at the front, then now all of a sudden we're getting a pretty decent rate of freeze. So it's all going to come down to, you know, combinations of skills, and even with this, you know, even if they get into melee range, you just have Hydra and you spam on a Kingdom Orb, it's still going to be pretty good. So, and I think Ice Armor is definitely going to be something that a lot of people are going to be using more, especially once they find some of these items, just because of the crowd control that it gives. So that's that, guys. And you know, if you're actually going to be going for a build where you want some freezing, but you haven't been lucky enough to find Azurewrath, but you did find a Serpent Sparker, you know, once you have 2 Hydras at a time, just get 2 Frost Hydras, and then use, you know, other skills that are not necessarily cold, because the chill effects are still going to freeze. So here's my 2 Hydras doing their thing. And then you can use any other skills that don't have to be frost skills or cold skills. You know, but this will give you great CC. So I'm going to test this out on, you know, other encounters like elites and bosses and things like that. I'm going to need obviously a lot more damage. I'm going to have to play around with certain things, but this is, you know, this is kind of like a proof of concept that shows you guys that this is very good, and it's going to be extremely powerful once, you know, you kind of gear up for it properly. So I'm going to finish this out with just finding a really fatty pack and showing you guys exactly how much freezing you can do. This looks pretty good. Yeah, this is a nice little pack. So let's round up all these guys together. And hopefully I don't die. Things get iffy. I'm gonna have to pour it out. But there you go, guys. This is the Permafreeze Wizard 2.0. And I'm not even using the Frost node that freezes, I'm just using Frozen Mist. But, you know, obviously I'm doing very little damage. Because I put on some defensive gear, but you can see that with the high damage output, where you can burn down enemies pretty quickly, this is going to be extremely powerful. I mean, I'm face tanking Torment 6 right now, and you know, with less toughness, you won't obviously be able to do it as long, but you won't need to. So there you go, guys. That's the Permafreeze Wizard in the making. It's going to be doable. This is something I've been looking forward to a lot, and as long as you use the right combination of skills, you know, you're going to be well off. So once again, guys, this is Meathead Mikkel from meatheadgaming.com. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I look forward to making another video in the near future where I'm going to actually test this on, you know, bosses and elites and that sort of thing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.